I'm back today. Today we want to be looking at the school-based assessment for CXC and CSEC. We're doing this social studies project. We're having a lot of problem getting students to complete the SBA. And I thought that maybe if I do a video, it might be of some help to many students. Okay, so that's the reason for doing this video. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even say completing the project. They haven't even started it. And the due date is coming. So I am just looking here to do a brief explanation of what is going on. I am looking again in the social studies book, modules in social studies. Candidates in secondary schools desirous of entering the general proficiency examination in social studies must complete a research project. The topic chosen for research may be selected from either section A or B of the syllabus, individual interaction and development, and use of resources. The completed project, which carries a total of 35 marks, should be between 1,000 or 1,200 words. All right, so that is the instructions that we are having to follow to complete this project. Let's go. SBA is really, based on social issues. So throughout your textbook, you should realize that many social issues are being discussed or highlighted during each lesson. I don't know if you are aware, but then you will see many little things being written, a little pockets of information being given, and then questions are being highlighted and so on. So it means that we should be reading these extra notes because they are asking questions which we need to be, critically thinking about, critical thinking. Note that the issues that are put forward by the authors, they are encouraging us to think critically, critical thinking about issues. Some of the social issues that affect us, they are outlined in our textbook, all right? So let us look at some of the discussions that are presented here. Now, I am looking at another textbook, Social Studies for the Caribbean, CXC Core Unit and Options, all right, with school-based assessment. So I am looking at page 12, at a case study of a single-parent family. So throughout the book, we have a lot of case studies being presented, all right? And we are expected to read and critically discuss these case studies that are presented. They are not just there because the author believes that it will make, it will fill up the pages. They are there for us to read. We have been geared or sensitized throughout our textbooks, right, to social issues in a very simple way. We have been introduced to the concepts of social issues as we read, and even though the terms might not have been introduced, our discussion always are centered around social issues. So we have been presenting responses to these questions that are presented in our textbook, granted so maybe in an informal way. Students often fear the idea of projects, and they are often dragged into projects. That's how they say it, we are dragged into it. But this is not true. They are being sensitized from earlier that this will need to be done as part of their assessment. They learn the words SBA or school-based assessment long before they are required to do their projects. Students, don't worry to be looking at me so forlorn as though this is new to you. This is not new to you. You have been hearing the term school-based assessment. You would have probably seen maybe your older siblings doing SBAs and all of that. All right, but I guess you were not interested then. So you have now to be armed with the knowledge of SBA. We are gonna try to understand what it means to do scientific research. Scientific research is what we are being introduced to when we have to do the SBA project. So having been armed now with knowledge of scientific research, then that would be considered as the foundation on which we build. So you have built a concrete wall that has separated you from the project from a very early period in your life. So it is often difficult for the subject facilitator to get to into your psyche to try to remove the misconceptions about projects. So as part of this lecture series that I am doing, I am presenting a simple explanation of the SBA project with the hope that you will benefit from the presentation. I hope that by the time I am finished here, you will not be as fearful. You can thank me later, all right? Thank me later. CXC and CSEC requires that we do a research project as part of completing several of the subjects that they offer. Now, you might be asking yourself, why does CXC, CSEC require this of me? Don't they know that it is very difficult to do research in addition to getting ready for the exam? That's what you have been saying to me, it is difficult Yeah, it is difficult, but hey, nothing is easy. You might even hear yourself saying, I hate to read. I cannot type. I don't like mathematics. I cannot. Well, all of the foregoing are indeed excellent reasons why we should be given, a pass up. Yeah, but that won't happen. CXC will not give us a pass up. So we have to focus on doing the CXC. But none of the reasons, all of the because, none of those are reasons or grounds for a pass up. So it serves us well to understand upfront the reason that CXC and CSEC deems it important that we do a research project. So let us read about the SBA project guidelines and the importance of doing the project. CXC CSEC suggests that we do the research project, and I might add that this project is worth 35 to 40% of the final grade for the subject. All right, so we must do the project. We must do the project because we need to pass the exam, and also we need the knowledge. We need to be introduced to scientific research. So therefore, let us right now accept that we cannot escape doing this research. So right now, take some time to massage the idea of a project into your minds, because we are going to be doing some interesting projects. So see if you can caress it, massage it into your minds, into your psyche. Try now to be telling yourself that this must be done. It will be done because I can do it. The SBA project is about social issues. At your level, you're going to be doing basic research. All right, so basic research calls for you to obtain information or data, which will have to be gathered from many sources, and then to use this information to answer the question that you have, the social issue that is affecting the society in a negative way. You will have to choose a topic. Look around, in your community. What might be an issue that is affecting the community? Not just your household. It has to be a social issue. Now, what do you understand by the term social issue? What do you understand by this term? Social issue. So the term social, right? It relates to many. So it's not a individual situation. Social, a society, it means it is affecting many. So a social issue now is affecting more than one person in the same way. That is, many persons are impacted by these social problems. So examples of social issues may be juvenile delinquency, teenage pregnancy, drug abuse, domestic violence in your community, all of these, and much more. Many more topics can be developed or looked into. We want to know the impact of these social issues on the society. And this is a question that CSEC, CXC wants us to tell them about. Yes, we can have meaningful discussions right here and now. We can even solve the problem among ourselves, talking about what we think is correct and what might not be the answer, and what might. But this is not, yes, we might even come up with correct responses. But then one will ask, where did you get that information? So sources of information has to be credible. We can't just take things out of our minds and to put it as credible information. So we can have all the discussions we want, but when it comes down to a project, scientific research is unbiased and it requires information that is accurate. So we ask, why then do I have to do the painstaking task otherwise? I will tell you now that research is very, very important, and that we do research in our everyday lives without even thinking that it is hard work. And who said that hard work was bad? Who said so? All of the information that is at our disposal, when we ask Google or when we ask YouTube anything, these responses that we get from these platforms, they were work, of other persons. Other persons actually did their groundwork, homework, research, whatever it is, so that we can be benefiting. Whether it's in medicine, pharmacology, engineering, agriculture, all aspects of our life have been impacted by the research that other persons have done. The sociologists, the psychologists, all these persons, have done research so that we can be benefiting today. Let us make our contribution to knowledge. Let yourself be introduced to the concept of scientific research. Again, we are not getting into the intricacies of scientific research. Suffice it to say that the information that we need to do this school-based assessment must be from credible sources. Scientific research is based on, or it's about, investigation. So bear this idea in mind as you complete your project. You're doing an investigation into a social issue. To investigate an issue, we need data, we need information. But how can we get this information? How are we going to get the information or the data that we need for our project? We need to collect this information from many sources by using an appropriate method or the best method that will facilitate data gathering. There are many ways that data can be collected that you will have to read upon, whether we are going to go to the library and review literature that persons have already used to do similar project, whether we are going to carry out experiments, whether we are going to do questionnaires and survey. A lot of methods are at our disposal. We have to choose the best one that will provide the information that we need. So having grasped the idea or the concept of data and information gathering, let us pause here to look at the word research and to determine what it does mean to us. Let us get into the meat of the matter. So we have this project to do, and it is a social issue that we have to be looking at. Then now, we're thinking about what social issue might be there. CXC has mandated us to do the project, and we must do it. The authors of our textbook have advised us that we can choose a topic which can be researched in the school, in the streets, the community, or in the district in which we live. So we will choose a topic from somewhere there. Now, they have given us about 54 topics here that we can choose from. So we will choose from any one of the 54. All right? So we don't have to go looking for topics for ourselves. Having chosen a topic, then we have to state the problem as it relates to the topic. The statement of the problem. So we have a topic. So now the question becomes, why have we chosen this topic? What have we heard? What have we seen? What have we read about? Why do we think that this topic that we have is a social issue? Why have we thought so? What's your reason for choosing this topic? Yeah, you can say, I just select one from out of the book. But it has to be one that is relatable. One that you have some information. You have seen something, you have heard something that have piqued your interest. And so I am going to do teenage pregnancy in my community. I am going to do juvenile delinquency. I am going to do domestic abuse. Something that you have seen, you have heard, you have read about, something that has piqued your interest. So even if you choose a topic from the book, it must be relatable. You have chosen a topic. Now you have to decide now what questions I need to answer about this topic that I have chosen. Why is it that I need to find out about juvenile delinquency? What am I interested in as far as this topic is concerned? Or teenage pregnancy in my community. What about teenage pregnancy are you interested in? You might be interested in what caused it. Why do we have such high level? What happened to teenagers after they have their babies? There can be many questions you want to answer coming under the general topic of teenage pregnancy in your community. So you have to critically think. There's a social issue, and the social issue is teenagers are getting pregnant. All right. How do you know it is a social issue? I live in the community and I see many teenagers pregnant. By the time the girl reaches 15, 16, for the last couple of years, this has become the norm. Girls are not passing 16 years old anymore. They become dropouts Yeah, and they become delinquent and they become this, that. This is something that you have observed. Maybe you have gone to some other meetings at the health centers and you hear, these topics being discussed and all of that. I don't know. But you have to establish as to why you figure that the topic that you have chosen, it is a social issue. Haven't gotten that out of the way, now you have to decide, what about this social issue am I interested in? I am interested in the cause. Or causes are factors that have led to this social issue. And you put that there as the statement of the problem. What caused so and so? What are the effects of so and so? That's the statement of the problem. Whatever you want to find out, you have to put it in the form of a question. Okay? That's what CXC says it needs. So, we have gone through selecting the major topic. We have gone through the statement of the problem. Now, we have to decide, how are we going to investigate this matter? We are doing research, scientific research, so we have to investigate. We have to choose a method to investigate the issue. We have to choose how we are going to get information to answer the question that we have posited. All right? So we can decide that we are going to use the questionnaire. We can decide that we are going to do face-to-face interviews. We can decide that we are going to just talk to persons at random. We can decide that we are just going to collect some data that might be archived. So we are going to use data that was already researched. We can decide which way we're going. But for all intent and purpose, for both of these projects that are done at this level, it is the questionnaire that is used as the method of investigation. We are agreeing that we're going to use the questionnaire as a method of investigation. So the method of investigation, again, we can decide to do questionnaire, which means that we're going to do a survey. We can do interviews. We can do observation as the method of investigation. But now, whatever method we use, we have to develop an instrument to collect the data. Instrument used to collect the data. You're going to design a document that will assist you in collecting data, in gathering information. Now, if you're going the route of the questionnaire, the questions that you have in your questionnaire should only concern questions that are appropriate to the topic that you are researching. Don't go all over the place with all kind of. Only question that relates to your topic, you need to include in the questionnaire. Now, a good questionnaire has certain features or characteristics. And in this book, we have 4 of them listed here. A person who is participating in your research, they need to remain anonymous. And they must be guaranteed confidentiality. Those are ethical issues when you're doing research. Anonymity and confidentiality. Need some introductory questions, and these are like age, the sex, ethnicity, religion, and the occupation. These are introductory questions on your questionnaire. So a good questionnaire will carry this. We are listing 4. So the anonymity and confidentiality, you have some introductory questions. All right, responding to the question should not be too time consuming. So you don't want to be taking up a lot of time or the person's time who is assisting you with your research. Most of the questions should be answered with a simple tick or require short phrases as answers. And the questions should be so constructed that they do not require a yes or a no answer. Avoid these questions that require yes and no answers. Some of the reasons that you have chosen the questionnaire might be it guarantees confidentiality of the informant, which we spoke about before. All immediate responses is not required. There is enough time for the informant to study the question, and distribution and collection of the questionnaires are really not time consuming. You'd have to tell CXC why you have chosen this method. Justification of the method. You have prepared your questionnaire And now you need to choose a sample. You need to choose person who will be part of your research. You have to tell CXC how you decide on your sample. How did you decide to use John instead of Mary, and Sue instead of Tom, and household 1 instead of household 2? You have to tell CXC the procedure. How did you choose your sample? Because not everybody in your community will be part of your research. You will have to choose a representative sample. And then now you'll have to tell CXC how did you choose 20 persons out of 100? How did you choose 100 persons out of 1,000? How did you go about choosing these persons? Because the research has to be unbiased. So you can't just decide that you're going to choose this person or that person, or go to this shop or that shop. It has to be unbiased. So you have to tell CXC how did you remove bias from your research. I'm reading the guidelines from the textbook, Procedures Used to Collect Data. In conducting a research, it is almost impossible to reach every person in the area where the study is being conducted. So, the researcher takes a representative sample of the population of the area, so as to include people of all religion, races, sexes, and occupation. All right? And there are several ways that this can be done. So refer to your textbook and you will see it listed as the ways in which you can choose your sample. All right? So you can write the names of all the persons in your community on a piece of paper, fold it and place them in a box, just like how you do a raffle, and then now you shape the box and you draw from that box. So whoever name appears on that, then you choose those persons. All right? So you can choose any different anyway. You can say, okay, I'm going to start with house 1 and then I'm going to do every 5 house after that. You can decide to divide the number of persons in the population, and whether you're going to do it by age, race, sex, and whatever. Whichever way you choose, it is your research. So you tell CXC how you carried out your research. It is yours. So we are together up to this point. All right. So you have given out your questionnaire to your sample and you have now collected them. Now you'll have to collate that information. You will have to present the information, that presentation of data it is called. So if you have 20 questions, you will have to now present the data that you have collected on the 20 questions for the sample. So if you have given out 20 questionnaires, you will have 20 question 1. So you're going to group the responses for question 1 and you're going to present the data. So it's called presentation of the data. CXC is saying to you now, having collated all the information that you have received, you have to present them in 3 different ways. Use 3 different tools of presenting the data. So you can use pie charts, bar graphs, line graphs, statistical tables, maps, photographs. So you have to present the data using 3 different methods. So whether you want to use bar chart, line graph, whatever you want to use, that's up to you. It's your research. But CXC is saying to you, you must present the data using 3 methods of representation. Having presented the data, you have to give some form of explanation. So you are presenting data on question 1. Would say figure 1 might be the age. You would say figure 1 shows the age of the persons living in community Jackshill. Figure 1 shows the age or the sex of persons or whatever it might be who participated in the research. The data indicate, the data suggest that 75% of the respondents were male, 25% were female. Done. Nothing more. End. We have presented the data, we have explained it. Now we have to interpret it. This is where the meat of the matter comes in. Interpretation of data calls for a description of the trends which are revealed from the information that you have collected. From the information that you have collected now, this is where you come in. You'll have to interpret this data. What does it mean to you, the researcher, in terms of the topic that you have? What does it mean to you? What is the information saying? It's not what you think. What is the data revealing to you? Here it comes now that you have to put you into it in a good way. You have done the research and now Based on the data, this is the interpretation that I am getting. The major cause of juvenile delinquency is single parent family. And this is based on the fact that question so indicated that absentee father, for whatever reason, blah, blah, blah. Also, question number 16 corroborated question number 7 in giving us reliable information as to teenage pregnancy. And you put it there, you interpret the data that you have collected. Make sure that your questionnaire is properly done so that it can give you important information that you can carry through your research and for it to be fascinating and interesting. Yeah? Don't go just pick up somebody else's past project and not even understanding it well. Yes, you're going to look at other past projects, but you need to understand what the project is saying and how the person came about. You know, to redo somebody else's work or to present somebody else's work is really, really difficult, because you now will have to be trying to understand what that person did. Whilst if you had started your project with just the guide of somebody else's, then you might find it much easier to do. All right. So, having interpreted the data now, what's the findings? What is your conclusion? So in this section, the researcher must state 3 findings from the project. What have you found out? And you have to support the findings with facts and figures which were given by the respondent. So everything is going back to the data that you have collected. The part of the information or the part of the research now that has to do with you will be the recommendations. So you're going to make 2 recommendations and show how you would implement one of the recommendations. All right? So that is what it is. The guidelines for the social studies project, right? We have certain topics or areas that we have to complete. We have to choose a topic. We have to state why we choose that topic. We have to state a problem that we wish to investigate that relates to the topic. Having done that, then we have to choose a method of investigation. How are we going to collect information? If we decide on any method at all, then what instrument might be used with that method? Now, what procedure did we carry out in terms of using this method? Did we write a letter? Did we go house to house? What did you do? Just tell CXC what you did. I've given out your questionnaires, you have collected them back. Now you have to sit down, collate the information, sit down, spread out all of your questionnaire, take the question then 1-1 and do tally. Then you present the data in one of 3 forms for every question. One of 3 forms, whether it's pie chart, bar graph, tables, however. One of 3 different methods of data presentation has to be used throughout, at least 3. Then, having presented the data, you give some explanation as what the data that you have presented, what it means. Having done that now, it comes to the meat of the matter where you'll have to interpret the data so that you're getting closer to presenting the answer to the research questions. Now, what did you find out? Having done the research, you have gotten the data. What did you find out? What was your conclusion? Did you get to answer the question? Did the data you presented but to answer the question? That's your findings. What did you find out? Did you find out the factors that are causing teenage pregnancy, juvenile delinquency, substance abuse, domestic abuse, whatever it was? Did you get a response from the data that you have collected? All right, after that now, what's the recommendation? What are you going to be recommending now to CXC, to your country, to your community heads? What are you going to be doing? All right, and that's basically the project that we have to do. Now, there are some basic things that form part of, of the study. And here we have a kind of a guide. We have to follow a guide to do the front page, the cover design. And then we have a table of content. Be sure that the table of content, whatever you have as content, the pages are matching. Too often, either the pages are missing, there is no indication of where to go for a particular topic, or when you go to the page, it's something different that you are seeing. Avoid that mistake. Now you have to do an acknowledgement. All right, and you know what I don't like to see in the acknowledgement, thanking who and who for strength to do so and so. I don't like that. Then do a brief introduction to your research. All right, a brief introduction to the problem. After that, now you state your problem. You go about with the statement of the problem, and this is in the form of a question. All right, and this is what it is. CXC tells you exactly how it allocates the marks, and CXC is saying for the statement of the problem in the form of a question, they've given you 2 marks for that. For the appropriate method of investigation, 1 mark. Design a simple instrument to collect the data, 4 marks. The description of the procedure to collect the data, another 4 marks. To present data in 3 of the ways listed under the specific guidelines, 6 marks. To explain the data, this is a lot, another 6 marks. Interpretation of the data, 6 marks. State 3 findings, 3 marks. And 2 recommendations, 3 marks. A total of 35 marks. All CXC cards must be submitted to CXC by April 30 of the year of the examination. This is where we are now, and I hope that this little pep talk was beneficial to you. All right, so happy research.